First contact with crisis. Commander Sarah Chen had always found the night shift aboard the UES Defiance to be peaceful. The Deep Space Monitoring Station hummed quietly around her as she reviewed routine patrol reports from the Outer Rim. Earth's newest flagship drifted silently through the void, its advanced sensors sweeping the darkness for any signs of trouble. At 35, Sarah had spent half her life in space, working her way up from a junior officer to commanding one of humanity's most advanced vessels. The quiet was shattered when Lieutenant Marcus Rodriguez called out from the communications station. His voice carried an urgency that made Sarah's pulse quicken. She had served with Marcus for 3 years, and he never got excited without good reason. "Commander, I'm picking up something unusual on the long-range array," Marcus said, his fingers dancing across the holographic controls. "It's definitely artificial, but the pattern is unlike anything in our database." Sarah moved to his station, studying the strange waveform that pulsed across the screen. The signal repeated every 30 seconds, a complex mathematical sequence that seemed almost musical in its rhythm. "Could it be one of our deep space probes?" "Negative, ma'am. The signal originates from beyond the Helix Nebula, at least 40 light-years from any human presence." Marcus adjusted the filters, trying to clean up the transmission. "There's something else, Commander. The signal is getting weaker. Whatever is sending this is either moving away fast or running out of power." Dr. Elena Vasquez, the ship's xenolinguist, appeared at Sarah's shoulder. The tall, silver-haired scientist had been studying the readouts from her own station. "Commander, I believe this is a distress call. The mathematical progression follows universal patterns for emergency signals that we've theorized about for decades." Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. In the 50 years since humanity had achieved faster-than-light travel, they had found plenty of evidence of alien civilizations, but no active contact. Ancient ruins, abandoned space stations, and dead worlds told the story of species that had risen and fallen long before humans learned to make fire. The possibility of encountering a living alien civilization had always existed, but finding one in distress created an entirely different set of challenges. "Can we translate it?" Sarah asked. Dr. Vasquez nodded toward her workstation. "I'm running it through the universal mathematics protocols now. If this species understands basic physics and mathematics the same way we do, we should be able to establish basic communication." The next hour passed in tense concentration. The bridge crew worked quietly while Dr. Vasquez and her team of linguists attempted to decode the alien message. Sarah found herself pacing between stations, her military training warring with her curiosity. First contact protocols required immediate notification of Earth Command, but something about the weakening signal suggested time was running out for whoever was sending it. Finally, Dr. Vasquez looked up from her console, her face pale. "Commander, I have a basic translation. It's not complete, but the message is clear." The main screen flickered, and text appeared in standard English. Sarah read aloud, her voice steady despite the implications of the words before her. "To any who receive this message, we are the Kithara of the third world of Kepler 442. Our civilization faces extinction. The devourer swarm has found us. Our defenses fail. Our people die. We beg assistance from any who can hear us. Time grows short." A heavy silence settled over the bridge. Sarah stared at the message, processing the reality of what they had discovered. Somewhere in the darkness of space, an alien civilization was fighting for its survival, and they had just asked humanity for help. "How old is this signal?" Sarah asked. Marcus checked his calculations. "Based on signal decay and distance, approximately 2 weeks, Commander. If they were already in desperate circumstances when they sent this." He didn't need to finish the sentence. Everyone on the bridge understood the implications. The Kithara might already be extinct, their world consumed by whatever this devourer swarm was. Sarah made her decision. "Rodriguez, send an immediate priority transmission to Earth Command. Include all data on the signal and our translation. Dr. Vasquez, I want everything you can give me about this Devourer swarm reference. While her crew worked, Sarah retreated to her ready room to prepare for what she knew would be a difficult conversation with Earth Command. The political implications of first contact were staggering enough, but first contact with a species under attack by an unknown enemy raised the stakes beyond anything humanity had ever faced. The response from Admiral Jackson came within 6 hours, faster than Sarah had expected. The gruff, gray-haired leader of Earth's Space Defense Force appeared on her private screen, his expression grim. "Commander Chen, this is either the most important discovery in human history or the beginning of our worst nightmare," Jackson said without preamble. "We've analyzed your data and consulted with every expert we have. The consensus is disturbing." Sarah leaned forward. "Sir, we found references to something called the Devourer swarm in the archives from the Centauri archaeological sites. Ancient warnings carved into stone, describing a force that consumes entire worlds and moves on to the next. We always assumed it was mythology or metaphor." Jackson's expression darkened. "It seems we were wrong." The weight of the revelation settled over Sarah like a heavy blanket. "What are your orders, Admiral?" "Earth Command is mobilizing the entire fleet, Commander. Every ship, every crew. We're not just talking about first contact anymore. We're talking about a potential threat to every living thing in this galaxy." Jackson paused, studying Sarah's face through the screen. "The question is, are we already too late to help the Kithara?" 3 days later, Sarah stood on the bridge of the Defiance as it led a fleet unlike anything humanity had ever assembled. 97 ships of various classes, from massive carriers to nimble fighters, all heading toward a distant star system to attempt something unprecedented. The largest military operation in human history was being launched to save aliens they had never met from an enemy they didn't understand. Dr. Vasquez had managed to send a response to the Kithara signal, a simple mathematical message that translated to, "Help is coming. Hold on." Whether anyone was still alive to receive it remained an open question. As the fleet jumped to faster-than-light speed, Sarah couldn't help but think about humanity's place in the universe. For 50 years, they had explored the galaxy expecting to find only ruins and empty worlds. Now they were racing across space to fight an ancient enemy that had already destroyed countless civilizations. Lieutenant Rodriguez interrupted her thoughts. "Commander, we're receiving a transmission from the Galactic Council vessel that's been shadowing our fleet." Sarah had been expecting this contact. The Council represented the few remaining alien civilizations that humanity had encountered, though contact had been limited and formal. They were old species, survivors who had learned to hide in the dark corners of the galaxy, avoiding attention and conflict. The screen showed Ambassador Krell of the Hegemony, a reptilian species known for their cautious diplomacy. His scaled features showed what Sarah had learned to recognize as disapproval. "Commander Chen," Krell began, his translated voice carrying formal disappointment, "the Council has observed your fleet's movement toward the Kepler system. We must strongly advise against this course of action. Ambassador, we've received a distress call from the Kithara. We're responding to a humanitarian crisis." Krell's head tilted in a gesture Sarah interpreted as condescension. "Commander, your species is young and does not understand the realities of galactic survival. The Devourer swarm has consumed 17 civilizations in the past millennium. Those who face them do not survive. Those who attempt to help them also do not survive." Sarah felt her jaw tighten. "Are you saying the Council refuses to help?" "The Council chooses survival over futile gestures. We advise humanity to do the same. Return to your borders. Forget you heard the Kithara signal. This is wisdom born of experience." The transmission ended, leaving Sarah staring at a blank screen. Around her, the bridge crew exchanged glances, their expressions reflecting a mixture of anger and determination. "Well," said Marcus quietly, "I guess we know where we stand with the galactic community." Sarah turned back to the forward view screen, where stars streaked past as the fleet continued its desperate race against time. Then we'll show them what humans do when others won't act. All ships, maintain course and speed. We have people to save." The fleet pressed on through the darkness, carrying with it the hopes of a species they had never seen and the determination of a people who refused to let distance or danger stand in the way of doing what was right. Behind them, the established powers of the galaxy watched and waited, certain they were witnessing humanity's final mistake. What humans do best. The Kythera homeworld appeared on the Defiance's screens like a jewel wrapped in chains of fire. The planet's blue-green surface, so similar to Earth, was marred by dark scars where massive ships hung in orbit like metallic parasites. Sarah Chen felt her heart sink as she took in the devastation visible even from space. Debris fields of destroyed satellites and defense platforms created a deadly maze around the world, evidence of a fierce but ultimately futile resistance. "Report," Sarah commanded, her voice steady despite the scene of destruction before them. Lieutenant Commander Torres, the fleet's tactical officer, spoke from his station. 37 enemy vessels in orbit, ranging from frigate class to what appears to be a massive dreadnought. Unknown design, but the power signatures are off the charts. He paused, consulting his readings. "Commander, I'm detecting life signs on the surface, but they're concentrated in what looks like a handful of defended areas." Dr. Vasquez looked up from her console, hope flickering in her eyes. "Commander, I'm receiving a transmission from the surface. It's weak, but it's definitely Kythera." The main screen flickered, showing a grainy image of what was clearly an alien face. The Kythera appeared almost ethereal, with elongated features, large eyes that seemed to hold depths of ancient wisdom, and skin that possessed an opalescent quality even through the poor transmission. When the being spoke, Dr. Vasquez's translation system converted the musical tones into English. "Unknown vessels, I am Thylon of the Kythera Unity. We had given up hope. Are you truly here to help us?" Sarah stepped forward. "I am Commander Sarah Chen of the United Earth Defense Fleet. We received your distress call. We're here to help." The alien's large eyes seemed to widen with something that might have been amazement. "Earth? The young species from the far arm. But the Devourer swarm, they are beyond counting. Your small fleet cannot. Let us worry about what we can and cannot do." Sarah interrupted gently. "How many of your people are still alive? Perhaps 3 million in our last cities. The barriers are failing. The Devourers have consumed everything else." Thylon's image flickered as explosions lit the sky behind the alien. "They will break through our defenses within hours." Sarah turned to her tactical officer. "Torres, what's our assessment?" The young officer's face was grim. "Honestly, Commander, by any conventional analysis, we're outnumbered and outgunned. The enemy ships are larger, and there are simply more of them. Standard military doctrine would call this suicide." Around the bridge, Sarah saw her crew exchanging glances. She knew what they were thinking because she was thinking it too. Every tactical manual said this was impossible. Every rule of engagement suggested retreat. But something deeper than military doctrine was driving them forward. "The thing is," Sarah said, addressing not just her bridge crew but the fleet commanders listening on the open channel, "humans didn't become the dominant species on Earth by following standard doctrine. We became dominant because when things looked impossible, we found a way to make them possible." She activated the fleet communication system. "All ships, this is Commander Chen. I won't lie to you. We're facing overwhelming odds against an enemy we don't fully understand. But right now, 3 million innocent beings are counting on us to do what everyone else in the galaxy says can't be done." Her voice grew stronger. "Today, we show the universe what Deathworlders do when people need help." The response was immediate. Across 97 ships, human voices confirmed their readiness to fight. Sarah felt a surge of pride in her species as she watched the tactical display show the fleet forming into attack formation. "All right, people," she said. "Let's give these Devourers their first taste of human ingenuity. Torres, initiate Operation Hornet's Nest." What followed was unlike any space battle in recorded history. The Devourer swarm, accustomed to overwhelming their enemies with superior numbers and firepower, found themselves facing tactics they had never encountered. Human ships moved in coordinated swarms, using their smaller size and superior maneuverability to strike at weak points and retreat before the enemy could respond effectively. The battle was chaos, but it was controlled chaos. Human fighters danced between the massive Devourer ships like angry insects, their weapons targeting specific systems rather than attempting to destroy the larger vessels outright. When a Devourer ship lost its shields, human boarding parties struck with surgical precision, targeting life support and command systems. But the most shocking moment came when Captain Maria Santos of the UES Relentless made a decision that would be talked about for generations. Her heavy cruiser, badly damaged and surrounded by 3 Devourer vessels, didn't retreat or surrender. Instead, she rammed her ship directly into the enemy dreadnought's main weapon array, crippling the massive vessel while their crew escaped in emergency pods. "This is Santos to all ships," her voice crackled over the communications. "Sometimes you don't need to be stronger. You just need to be willing to do what they won't expect." The tide of battle began to turn. The Devourer swarm, for the first time in their expansion across the galaxy, found themselves not just resisted but actively defeated. Their ships, designed to overwhelm and consume, couldn't adapt to an enemy that refused to follow conventional patterns of warfare. Meanwhile, human landing parties were conducting the largest evacuation operation in their history. Transport ships, protected by fighter escorts, descended to the Kythera cities under fire. What they found there amazed them. The Kythera had built their cities as works of art, with graceful spires and flowing architecture that seemed to grow from the landscape itself. Even under siege, the beauty of their civilization was evident. Colonel Jack Morrison led the ground evacuation teams, and his first meeting with the Kythera in person was something he would never forget. The aliens were taller than humans, moving with a fluid grace that seemed almost supernatural. But what struck him most was their reaction to seeing humans in person. "Your people," said Phylan, speaking through a portable translator. "They are different from what we expected." The Galactic Council spoke of humans as unpredictable, dangerous. "They said your world was too harsh, that it made your species violent." Morrison smiled grimly as explosions lit the sky above them. "Ma'am, our world did make us violent when we need to be. But it also taught us that sometimes violence is the tool you use to protect what matters." The evacuation continued under fire, with human soldiers holding defensive positions while transports lifted off carrying Kythera civilians. What amazed Morrison was how quickly his troops adapted to protecting beings they had never seen before. The same instincts that had once driven humans to protect their own tribes now extended naturally to include these graceful aliens. Dr. Vasquez, working with Kythera scholars to preserve their cultural data, made a discovery that would reshape humanity's understanding of the galaxy. The Kythera possessed records going back thousands of years, chronicles of civilizations that had fallen to the Devourer swarm. But there was something else in their archives, references to an ancient prophecy about warriors from a harsh world who would come from the darkness when hope seemed lost. "Commander," she reported to Sarah over the communications link, "I think the Kythera have been waiting for us. Not specifically humans, but someone like us. Someone willing to fight the swarm when others wouldn't." The battle in space reached its climax when the Devourer dreadnought, crippled but not destroyed, began to retreat. Sarah made a decision that surprised even her own crew. Instead of pursuing the fleeing enemy, she ordered the fleet to focus on protecting the evacuation ships. "Commander," Torres asked, "shouldn't we press our advantage?" Sarah watched as another transport ship lifted off from the planet's surface, carrying hundreds of Kythera refugees to safety. "Our mission was never to destroy the swarm, Torres. Our mission was to save lives. Let them run. They'll remember this defeat, and maybe next time they'll think twice before attacking someone." The evacuation took 18 hours. When it was complete, nearly 2.5 million Kythera had been rescued, and were aboard human ships. The remainder of their population had been relocated to orbital habitats hastily constructed by human engineering teams working alongside Kythera technicians. As the combined human-Kythera fleet prepared to leave the system, Sarah received a transmission that surprised her. It was from Ambassador Krell of the Galactic Council, the same being who had warned humanity away from this mission. "Commander Chen," Krell said, and Sarah noticed that his tone had changed completely. "The Council has observed your actions in the Kepler system. We owe humanity an apology." "Ambassador, we didn't do this for recognition," Sarah replied. "We understand that now. For millennia, the civilized species of this galaxy have accepted that some threats are too great to face. We learned to hide, to survive by avoiding conflict." Krell paused, and Sarah thought she detected something like shame in his translated voice. "You have shown us that there is another way, that sometimes civilization means standing up to the darkness instead of hiding from it." The transmission continued with an invitation that would change everything for humanity. The Galactic Council wanted to discuss a new role for Earth's forces as protectors of threatened worlds. For the first time in galactic history, a species was being asked to take on the responsibility of defending others against threats that seemed insurmountable. Sarah looked around her bridge at the crew who had helped make this miracle possible. They were tired, some were wounded, but they all wore expressions of quiet satisfaction. They had done something that everyone said was impossible, not because they were stronger or more advanced than other species, but because they were willing to act when others wouldn't. "Plot a course for Earth," Sarah commanded. "We have a lot to discuss with Command, and I suspect our role in this galaxy just got a lot more interesting." As the fleet jumped to hyperspace, carrying with them the saved remnants of the Kythera civilization, the galaxy began to reassess its understanding of the species from the harsh world called Earth. The humans had proven that sometimes the most important victories come not from superior technology or overwhelming force, but from the simple willingness to help when help is needed most. Behind them, in the Kepler system, the wounded Devourer swarm regrouped and planned their next moves. But for the first time in their expansion across the galaxy, they did so with the knowledge that somewhere in the darkness, there were those who would stand against them. The age of human galactic involvement had begun.